Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Welcome to The Decision, a podcast by EO Nashville. We feature growth-minded entrepreneurs who share their stories and wisdom gained through the experiences of making tough decisions. As always, I am Eric Jackson. I am joined by my cohort, my partner in crime, Mr. Robert Hartline, fellow entrepreneur and fellow EO member. Robert, how you doing today?
I am doing better than I deserve. Thank you, Eric, for joining us.
Yes, sir.
We have Mike Rustici here with me. And did it again. See, this is what's so great about this.
Rhymes with ecstasy. Mike
Ecstasy. Mike Ecstasy. There we go. Mike Rustici.
Close enough. Just start it with an R. You're fine. It'll be okay.
This is beautiful. See, this is going to be my thing now. Like, I'll be known for fucking up everybody's. Well, beep that out. But I'll be known for screwing up everyone's last name. And you know what? I'm going to do it on purpose now. That's my mission. I will mispronounce everyone's last name. That's what we're doing from here on out.
You got to get Ginger Jones back on for that one.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's hard to mess up Jones, though. Yeah. But Mike, the reason I had you on here today is you have been a member for many, many years. How long have you been a member?
16 years.
Wow.
16 years, yeah.
It's a lot different now than it was when you started.
It's a lot bigger, that's for sure.
Yeah, how big were we then?
70 something, 75 maybe?
I think it was less than that because it was about 50 or 60 when I joined the year after you did. Because you told me about EO.
Maybe I drove a lot of people away before I joined.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know.
But yeah, definitely a lot different from a size and scale perspective, but a lot the same from a values perspective and who we are at the core for sure.
What was your business then?
I had a software company. It was called Rustici Software. That's pronounced Rustici Software. Never name a company after yourself because nobody can pronounce your last name. But we had a little niche we had worked out, and we're the only company in the world who operated in the niche that we did. And we were a company that was all about culture and attracting and retaining top people by just providing a place where they wanted to work.
And when did you start your business?
Started in 2005. Yes, 2005.
So you started EO shortly after you started it.
Yeah. No, I started in 2002. That's right. My bad. 2002.
Okay.
Started in 2002 in my spare bedroom and took on a partner about a year later, hired our first employee about a year after that. And a couple of years later, we're in EO. Yeah.
And so question, how much impact on your business do you think that EO had?
Oh, it was, I can't quantify it. It's not the direct impact on the business so much as just the reframing the level of thinking, the think big, be bold aspect of it, the being convinced that there's absolutely no reason my business can't be 10x the size that I originally thought it could be. It's going into my first forum training. And, when I started my business, my goal was to, make $100,000 a year. I thought I'd be crushing it and I could support my wife and our kids if she wanted to stay home when we had kids. And I sat in a room with a guy whose problem he was trying to deal with is that he had $1 million in free cash flow and didn't know what to do with it. And my mind just kind of exploded that, that's possible. Just kind of reframed the art of the possible for me.
Why does that feel like this impossible right now to me?
Same.
Yeah, so I resonate with that a lot. But back then, when your eyes become wide open, right, and you start seeing some possibilities, did that change? Did it change how you worked?
Yeah, the whole notion I'd never really been introduced to before is work on your business instead of working in your business. I started as a software developer working in my spare bedroom, and I thought business is you do the work and you get paid for the work. And this notion of building something bigger than yourself and working yourself out of a job almost and completely reframed everything about how we structured it and allowed us to scale and ultimately have a very, very lucrative exit.
Yeah, and so let's go back a bit before we go to the exit piece, and that is the reason for the Decision podcast is helping entrepreneurs understand how to come to their forum with a challenge, a decision they need to make, and, present that in a way during a deep dive so they can get help with discovering through experience share that next decision that they need to make. And what happens for a lot of entrepreneurs, they go through this dance with their forum, they go and present, and they do nothing. They absolutely do nothing. And so do you have any experiences that you'd like to share that was a challenge for you that you brought the forum?
Yeah, I mean, that's I spent 9 years in a forum, and back then the monthly update forum was your best and your worst from the last month, and your personal, your family, and your business. And every month my update was my business is awesome, and my family, the kids are great, my marriage sucks, and individual, what's that? Maybe I exercised some this month. And if you look back, I gave that update every month for years and years and years. It was before we had this push to really dive into not just what happened, what does that mean? How does that impact you at the most deepest levels? And I wish I'd done that analysis a whole lot sooner.
And what came up to me with that is, why didn't anybody ask you, or did they? Did they say, well, why is it not good?
Yeah, we had a lot of those conversations, but I felt like I knew it. So I didn't need to ask anybody about it. I knew my marriage sucked. Don't need to talk about it. Don't need to ask about it.
But did anybody ask you why?
Not enough.
Do you wish someone had pushed you on the why?
I wish I pushed myself. Yes, I wish I had that catalyst. I felt safe, but I didn't ask myself that question. I didn't ask myself, is it okay that my personal update is I don't know what it means to have an individual aspect of my life?
So it was all business.
It was business and kids, and that was all that was allowed. And I didn't think to question, is that the way the world's supposed to be? Is that living true to my values of who I want to be, of how I want my life to go?
I just want to put a verbal statement here. If you hear me say that in an update, to challenge me, because I need, and this is a good place for us to have this kind of debate. And this is why we do this podcast, to ask these challenging questions, because we will be old, right? And we will be looking back at our lives, and we will have some regrets. And what I don't want to do is, be sitting there and going, I didn't ask, or no one asked me these questions that I needed. We sometimes have to be hit with some kind of obstacle, some kind of challenge where you're like, and where I have seen in the conversations around decisions is when someone's had a crisis, they're in the hospital, they will make a decision. If someone is, or they lose a loved one, a death will cause a decision to happen. Those things, it doesn't have to be that drastic. It could be a simple question.
It has been. I know this story.
Oh, we got a story here.
We've got a story. We just gave each other a look a second ago. Mike, you want to take it?
It was cancer. It was cancer that made the decision for me. I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me to get cancer, because when you hear that word, you get clarity in an instant. Like, it just forces absolute clarity of, I might not be here next year. I got a year. What am I going to do with it? In my case, I was exceptionally fortunate. My battle with cancer was nothing to complain about in the realm of cancer. It was nothing. It was fine. It was an ordeal, but not compared to what most people go through with that diagnosis. So I just got the good side of instant clarity to get my life going in the direction it needed to be going.
And that reality, a new reality, forcing you to make a decision. What was the decision you needed to make?
Well, there was a few. I was at the time, I'd sold my first company in the good kind of exit, and I was running my second company, which was a great startup, had a ton of potential. Our first customer was Google, and then it was AT&T and Accenture and Visa and Verizon and Caterpillar and PwC and like a who's who of the Fortune 500. And I was flying all over the world, being asked to speak about the technology we had invented, receiving a lot of attention and acclaim, and the whole industry kind of looking to me as a big innovator. And it was kind of a big deal in my own little world, in my own little space. And at the same time, my marriage of 18 years was in its death throes, and that was something I didn't take lightly. It was super important to me to do everything I could to try to save that and honor that commitment and keep the family together. And then I got cancer, and kind of realized I couldn't do all three of those things at once. So there was a decision to get rid of the cancer. That was an easy one. A pretty straightforward decision-making process there. But then there was simultaneous decisions to get rid of the company and to exit that relationship.
Yeah.
All happening at the same time.
All at the same time. That is a lot of pressure there. Yeah. And so navigating that, how much fear was around you at that time?
Oh my God. The divorce was scary to me. It was it was terrifying. It took me years and years and years to get up the courage to even contemplate it, because I absolutely treasure my kids, and the good times in our family were magical. And I'm a man of integrity who prides myself on my values and my commitments, and divorce wasn't something that happened in my family, and it doesn't happen to me. And I was terrified. I was terrified of what that would mean to myself, to my kids, to my ex-wife. It was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. And when did you bring that to forum, those conversations?
Yeah. Although, I was kind of in the cancer recovery mode during all this. I wasn't super active in forum at the time. It's actually in a quarterly forum for a lot of it. And so, it met, I made a lot of decisions in between forum meetings with that format over there. But, the things that really helped me in those are just the people who had gone through it before, the people who were 20 years on the other side of this, who had great relationships with their kids and were much more whole, vibrant, people themselves. The support of just knowing that, people are going to still love and respect me, even if I do something that was traditionally against my values. Just feeling that love, that support was huge. It was huge. Knowing that a lot of times things are scarier in your imagination than they are in reality. To be able to put things on the table in a safe space and to see the positive reaction from people, or at least the reaction you feared coming out, it's hugely empowering to kind of go back to that EO core value of be bold, take the actions that you need to take to achieve your goals and to put your life where it needs to be.
Now, when you've done past deep dives, were much of those coached, or how did you go about sharing some of those deep?
We weren't the best about following the exact forum rules and doing our coaching. Unfortunately, looking back, I wish we would have, especially with some of the newer structures that have come out to encourage that much deeper dive into things. Yeah, because I really felt like a lot of times I was presenting the surface issue and missing out on the deeper issue. Really uncovering the layers of what's going on, in my soul. And
what I'm getting out of this is something that I've told Eric over and over again about the importance of going to moderator training, is to learning that 5%, even though they're not going to be a moderator whatsoever. But when you hear, and I think this is the ticket, I think this is the secret, that if you can connect, the EO forum experience is magical. Because when you start sharing your deep, dark thing, I am laser focused on what you are saying. I can't think of anything else. And when you are telling a forum that you have cancer, right? And you are sharing that deep, everything else is gone. Like everything else is meaningless. And that gives me an opportunity to actually see myself in you and wonder, life could be gone. Like this could be, and it just gives us a reflection, right? To realize that we may need to be living a little bit differently or have a different perspective or look at our problems differently. I tell people all the time, I mean, if you ever think you're having a bad day, go to the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. That's a bad day. There's a burn unit. You can walk through that hallway and you will magically have a bit different day because it's very humbling. And it's that good lesson because we get so, as entrepreneurs, we create all of our drama in our minds, and it's never as bad as it winds up being, is it?
I think the real power of that too comes when you just get in that habit of being open, of being vulnerable, and taking that back to your friends, your family, your business partner in my case. And it's, one moment comes to mind during that same time where I was trying to I knew I needed to get out of that second company, as much as it, pained me to kind of be exiting what I thought was a ticket on my rocket ship. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't quite let go. And we had an opportunity to sell it to what would be, let's say, how can I say this? A very, very well-known company that would be a glorious exit for a tech company. And that looked like it was going to have some momentum, and that fell through. And I wanted to just scrap the whole thing and keep grinding my nose back to it. And even I knew that was the wrong decision. I had a great other, our investors were super, super supportive and agreed to just buy us out of the company to support me in my journey. But I wouldn't accept it. Even though it was a great option, gave me exactly what I needed for my life. I couldn't accept it until I, sat down and was, very vulnerable with my partner, Tim. And he helped me realize that, if we dug a couple levels deep, what was holding me back was a need for acclaim. I'd received so many accolades and so much acclaim and so much praise for my efforts in this endeavor that I was kind of stuck on it. That I was kind of hung up on. I'm not an egotistical person at all, but in that moment, there was a huge part of my identity wrapped up in this material success of this technology we had created. And once he was able to help me learn that about myself, the whole thing became so much clearer. It became very clear to just say, yeah, my values aren't about ego. My values aren't about acclaim or praise. My values are about taking care of what needs to be taken care of in this situation for myself and my family and my health. And just that process of being open, of being vulnerable, of talking deeply, absolutely, got me to the right place. I learned all that. I learned all that in Forum.
Wow. And that's so true. We often get disillusioned why we were doing what we were doing. And it's for the wrong reasons. When it's for the wrong reasons, it's what you're like, because you're not going to look back and go pound your chest about that. You'll pound your chest about how much time you spent with the family.
Yeah.
You get stuck in it.
And when we were talking a few episodes back with Mose, he asked me that very important question of what emotion are you feeling? And it really took me a minute to figure that out. And we talked about it for a few minutes, and finally it was resentment. I was like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
And I began to unpack it and then began to understand the issue. And I think that's one of the things that's changed with Forum over the years is we began to acknowledge what emotions are you feeling? And I know Ellie Bird in her Forum training began to make that a focal point of preparation for updates. So it sounds like you went through that journey probably before you knew.
It's hard to name the emotion.
It sometimes is.
Yeah. I mean, by yourself. I can't, but with some help with the right questions, I can probably get it out of somebody else better than I can get it out of myself.
100%. Yeah. You get stuck and you have blinders on. You can't see yourself. And especially as men, we don't have a emotional language. No, I don't have an emotional intelligence until I work on it.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
On their field.
Got a beer. It'll be good.
Pull up your britches and get to work.
Yes. That's been such a journey for me over the last 4 or 5 years through all this is It's learning to understand, allow myself to feel emotions, to acknowledge that I have emotions. It's okay to have emotions and to let those out and feel them. I'm a big believer in the notion that the body keeps score. And I've been able to now identify when I'm stressed mentally, when I'm letting things get to me a little bit too much. I can feel it in my back. There's a direct connection over there. And, my therapist is a really big believer in that connection. And, he was even, suggesting that, was that a factor in getting cancer? Was cancer a way of saying, my body saying, dude, wake up, listen to me. Hello. I got something to tell you here.
Yeah. And process, we tend to, and as driven people, we tend to, I don't feel something I like. Okay. I'm going to feel something different. And so you just push it on the shelf and you do some behavior. Maybe it's drinking, maybe it's a drug, or maybe it's going on a run and avoiding the feeling instead of facing the feeling, feeling the feeling. That's something that we resist. I know I do all the time. And when I have to sit with my emotions, man, that is hard, but it's probably better than sitting with some back pain, because you're right. You're right.
I cry any chance I get. If there's tears coming, I don't stop them. But what movie were we watching? It wasn't even like a tearjerker movie. It was Toy Story. Toy Story 3. Watch Toy Story. I was bawling like a baby on the side of the couch over there. I just let it come. Let it come now. Let it get out. And my kids caught me at it. They're laughing at me. That's all right. We'll show them how to be vulnerable a little bit.
Yeah. And it's a skill. I think it's a skill you learn. I feel like if you, I think the experience that a lot of entrepreneurs do, they start their thing. They're with a team of people that they can't really necessarily be vulnerable with, because employees, let's be real. You be vulnerable as an employee, they will use it against you if you're not careful. You have to really choose wisely in the way you become vulnerable, right? And so a lot of people come into EO not ready for the vulnerability exercise. And that's why you go through that, the life journey, what's lifelines, and, identify those highs and lows. And actually that is a very emotional experience for a lot of people to go through, to really write down the lows. And what the thing that I've noticed every time I've done it is you have this recognition that the lows got you to the highs, and that there is no good and bad. Like, that's beautiful. And being able to share the lows, that's a vulnerability exercise that everybody really should be doing, because it feels good to have it come out. You start recognizing that other people in the room have had very difficult journeys too, and they have survived, they have overcome, and that we can do that as well. But it does take practice to be vulnerable.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that, except for the fact that you can't be vulnerable with your employees. I think it's massively powerful.
It can be
vulnerable with your employees, to build that trust and respect in that culture, to let them know that you're figuring it out as well, which inspires their trust and respect in you, to know that you're being real with them. And I think it can engender a lot of loyalty if you have the right team.
Yeah.
It probably took me 30 years to start asking the question, what do you think?
Yeah.
Because I would always dive in and try to fix the problem myself. And now I just sit back and let them talk. And then if they're not, I just ask them what they think.
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of surprised by that. It's because I don't know. Let's figure it out together. What do you got?
Answers.
Exactly right.
Well, Mike, thank you for joining us today. Nashville, this is EO Nashville. And if you're an entrepreneur that is looking for a community to become involved in, so a place that you can go to monthly and share deeply with other entrepreneurs that are out there thinking big and thinking bold, those are what we're all about here. You're in a community of people that are out there crushing it each and every day and learning along the way. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.